Plot Warriors. Today is a good day for Season 2 DS9. I saw Charlemagne's request for thoughts on Star Trek Enterprise. I only watched a handful of episodes, or I guess several might be more accurate. Don't think I watched all of Season 1. I didn't love it, but to be fair, I struggle with watching things that were, that are new to like canon of things that I love. So like I want nothing to do with you know, some of the like Picard and Discovery, because I don't like the canon of my stuff being changed. Like I don't want a Buffy reboot. I don't want any of that. I just want my original stuff. So I also didn't like the episode where the engineer gets pregnant and then they act like it's, oh, haha, she got him pregnant without his consent, without him even knowing there was potential for that, or that it was a sexual thing, and then, haha, it's funny because he's a man. I was like, no, that's the R word, guys. Alright, let's get going. It's correct. You're right, Sleepy. I do refuse change. I don't like, it's the autism. I don't like my stuff messed with. It's very distressing. I can't sleep at night. Alright, starting with the homecoming. So this is when there's this Bajoran resistance hero. Like, he was a big deal during the resistance, and they thought he was dead, but it turns out he's actually in a Cardassian labor camp, which is not even supposed to exist anymore. They're not supposed to have any Cardassian prisoners anymore. It's a violation of their treaty. And so, Kira goes to try to set him free because she's like, shit, he'll help unite Bajor, and she gets him. But then it turns out, like, let's see, wait, there's multiple episodes of this. I want to make sure I do this right. Yeah, so she goes to get him. This is like a 3-part episode. She goes to get him, but then he's like really not thrilled about it because it turns out he doesn't think he's a hero because, well, he's technically not. Everything around him is legend. And so he, like, feels bad about it. But then Cisco's like, yeah, well, you're just gonna have to be the hero they want you to be because they need you to. So, this is a pretty solid episode. It really gets going some of the more of the overarching plots of DS9, so I'd give it an A tier. Next is there's this group called the Circle, and they are against the Federation being there, and they're not like thrilled about everything. They're, you know, because there's like a lot of discontent on Bajor after the occupation, because they're trying to figure out like how to create a government, how to rule themselves, how to like get back to who they were, but also, you know, and yeah, and so things are not going good though, because there's this terrorist group called the Circle, and they put a brand on Odo's head, or not Odo's head, Quark's head, right? They like burn a mark into his head, like they mean business. And then because Kira went against the orders of the Bajoran, the temporary Bajoran government, the provisional government, they fire her. They're like, we're taking you away from your post and we're giving it to, what's his name, guys? Lee Nollis, that's his name. And so, that's the hero guy. And so then, they're like, okay, they gotta go rescue Kira. Kira has this kind of like weird romance thing with the monk guy. Vedig Bareil is hinting at some stuff. And then they're trying to like, I'm getting a little confused because there's 3 parts and I can't remember exactly where each part ends. But she's kidnapped. It turns out the Circle is actually led by one of the members of the provisional government. Dun dun dun. So that one, I think that's pretty good. And then part 3, the Bajoran government is like, get off the station. And of DS9, and Cisco's like, okie doke, but he doesn't actually go. He just hides, and all of them hide because they're gonna take back the station, because the Circle doesn't know that they're actually being armed by the Cardassians. So the Cardassians are the one behind the terrorist group secretly because they want Bajoran government to fall apart. So it's like this huge conspiracy that they don't even know about. So then Odo turns into a mouse to help get the proof of the conspiracy, and they take it to the provisional government. Kira experiences the Orb of Prophecy? The orbs are a big thing in this. This one has more of... no, DS9 does more of... is less episodic. That's what makes it better. So this is continuing stuff. This part's really sad, though. The end of this one, because Lee Nollis, they try to kill Sisko. They try to unalive Sisko. Lee Nollis takes the blast instead. And then he's like, off the hook, after all. And he passes. And everyone's really sad. So that one's pretty good. This one is more of a hey Joshua, this one's more of an episodic one where everyone's off the station because they had to evacuate because of the violence and the Bajoran group coming. So like Keiko and all the citizens are off, the civilians. And the people who chose to stay are still there. The Sacrifice is used in a Voyager episode and another DS9 episode. Doing okay. I just woke up from a nap, so I'm a little sleepy. So this Trill, he is not a joined Trill. So a joined Trill is someone who has a symbiont in them, like Dax. Jadzia Dax has the Dax symbiont. This guy does not have one, and he's really upset about it because he worked his whole life, and he's like, it's not fair. So he comes on board, and he tries to kidnap Dax. He fails, but he, like, holds them all up, and he's trying to, he's gonna remove the symbiont from Dax, which ultimately will unalive her. And so they're fighting him really hard, trying to prevent him from doing this. He forces Dr. Bashir to do it, like, under threat of unaliving the others, and Jadzia is like, just do it. And so, they do it, and, put it in him, and he's like, woo, yay! And then, but they manage to capture him before he can leave, and they take it back out of him. It's an okay episode. Like, it's solid, but I would say, like, not as good as others, because it doesn't really do anything. This next one, though, is a really good one. Cardassians. This really gets more of Cardassian information going. So Garrick, who's one of my top 5 DS9 characters, they encounter this Cardassian boy on the station who's with his adoptive parents. And they're like, that's weird. A Cardassian boy with Bajoran parents on the Bajoran station, this is strange. So Garrick goes to say hi, and the kid bites him like a crazy. And, so then it ends up with this whole investigation. It turns out he was a war orphan, and when the Cardassians left Bajor, they left behind all their orphans. They just left them there. And so then Bajorans were forced to care for them because they're not heartless monsters like some of the Cardassians are. This is a really good episode, though, because then it turns out this boy is not an orphan. His father is alive. And, so then it opens up this trial of, is his father gonna get custody of him, or are these people he's been with for like 10 years gonna get to keep him? And it's super sad because he wants to stay with the Bajorans because he loves them, but they've also taught him that all Cardassians are monsters, and so he hates Cardassians, so he doesn't want to be with his father, even though his father does love him. But then it turns out, through this whole thing, Gul Dukat, my guy, this really what sets Dukat off. This sets Dukat off as the recurring villain, exactly, and more of a central character, and more of like, you hadn't really seen how much of a villain he was before. So it turns out Gul Dukat purposely had this boy left behind as an orphan, knowing that his father is alive, because he wanted to use it to humiliate his father someday, for political reasons, because they're political rivals. So Dr. Bashir and Garrick figured this out and bring down Dukat, and he's obviously really pissed, and ultimately Sisko rules that the boy goes with the father, which is sad. And so it's, I mean, like, sad and happy. Like, he didn't necessarily make the wrong decision, but it's sad. This one's at least A tier for me. Now I'm S tiering it. I love that episode. I think it's super good. It really sets off the whole style of the Cardassians too, like how they think and act. Excuse me, sorry, I was just thirsty. Yes, Garrick, it brings Garrick in more, because Garrick had just kind of been this side guy, and now we get more of some Garrick. It shows how smart he is, because you don't, like Charlemagne says, we don't know Garrick's backstory. Bashir's like, I heard you were a spy, and he's like, oh, that's ridiculous. But then you kind of see, yeah, you're giving off major spy vibes. This officer who's got a major chip on her shoulder comes on board. She's just an ensign. She's really snooty. Did I say Cardassian? I do that all the time out of context. It's so embarrassing, but I have a hard time. And so she's really snooty, and Dr. Bashir's like, I'm gonna hit that. Excuse me. And, she's oh shoot, I know. An Elysian? No, it's I was close. Elasian. There, I was so cute. Man, I can't even speak. So close. Elasian. She's gonna go do some cartography in the Gamma Quadrant. She's mad because Cisco won't let her go alone. He's like, you're just an ensign, you need an officer with you. And she's in a bad mood. She's cranky because she comes from a high gravity environment where they just float around, and so it's really hard for her to function on the other environments, the Class M planets, I guess. And so she's like essentially disabled on the other planets, and she's really it's difficult for her because she doesn't want any help. She doesn't want people to think she's not capable. And then she falls in love with Dr. Bashir, and then there's stuff, and they think she gets unalived, but she's alive, and then ultimately she's fine, but she doesn't stick around. So I think it's an enjoyable love story, but it doesn't really go anywhere. This one, oh god. So this is the one. Grand Nagus Zek is back. King of the Ferengi, essentially. He's back. He wants Quark to go do some business in the Gamma Quadrant. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Charlemagne. I don't love this episode. It's got a good message to it. But of the whole... There's no feminism in Ferenginar, basically. Their women are subservient, and they can't do business. They can't have any kind of career. They're just supposed to be at home naked all the time. So this person here, we find out pretty early on, but the rest of the crew, the rest of the people don't know. She's actually a woman disguised as a male Ferengi, so she wears the male clothes. She puts on bigger ears, because, bigger ears on the male Ferengi. For the Umaks. And so she's in love with Quark, though, which kind of makes it uncomfortable. I feel like they didn't need to add that. It makes it a little weird. And so but Quark figures out that what Grand Nagus Zek really wants us to know about the Dominion. So this introduces the idea of the Dominion, which is really big throughout the series, but you don't know yet. And so ultimately, she gets discovered, but Quark is able to help her out, and so she gets to leave, and I think she goes to the Gamma Quadrant. Thanks, Omega Suoreme. Sorry, I'm probably butchering that. For following on Twitch. Oh, right, it does set up Quark's mother as well. Although the actress changes after this episode, I liked the original actress much better. And then yeah, so Quark helps her out, and I think she goes to live in the Gamma Quadrant because she doesn't want to go be a Ferengi female. So I would say for me it's C tier, but it's like Charlemagne said, it's got some good message. It just gets a little goofy, I guess. Like, I feel like they didn't they could have done it better. Oh, this one's a weird one. It kind of stresses me out. This one is someone tries to unalive Quark. So this woman asks Quark to do her a favor. He does it, but then he tries to open the box she asks him to get. So they try to unalive him, which reopens a 5-year-old unaliving investigation that Odo was part of back when the Cardassians were on the station. This was when woman's husband was unalived. She was a suspect. Turns out the other suspect was Kira. Bam, bam, bam. Back then, she was a resistance fighter. And, so yeah, it opens up this whole thing. They're trying to figure it all out. Ultimately, 5 years ago, Odo saved Kira's life by saying that she was not guilty, but he never did find who was guilty. In the end, we find out it was Kira. She did it. She unalived the woman's husband because he was a collaborator with the Cardassians, so he would work with them and live a luxurious life while the rest of the Bajorans were being genocided. So he's a bad man. I would give this one B tier because it gives us some of the Odo-Kira past that's important, like Odo on the station before the Bajorans took back over, Kira's life as a resistance fighter, the whole Collaborator with this one. Yeah, I agree with you, Darth. It's got some good drama, and it's not easy. Like it's not really obvious from the beginning either. This one's just totally unnecessary. This woman, it's a little complicated to explain. Sisko falls in love with a woman. It's like the anniversary of his wife's death, and he falls in love with this woman right here. I always forget. Adele, isn't it like Adele? Fenna. Oh, right. My bad. Fenna. He falls in love with Fenna, who wears red, as he says. Sorry about that. I'm here. There's a delay. And then, sorry, the Twitch sometimes doesn't work as well. I'm not a fan. And so then he falls in love with her, but she keeps disappearing. Like, apparently it's like she's literally disappearing. Then there's this guy on the station who's like a really obnoxious, there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it. He's a, terraformer, and he's like super famous, and he's just really pompous and larger than life. And this is gonna be his biggest project ever. But then it turns out his wife is Fenna. But then it turns out, no, his wife's not Fenna. His wife is Adele, who is a psycho-projective telepath or something. So in times of distress, she creates this alternate personality that she projects, and that's who Sisko fell in love with. And she's dying because it's because of, you know, the telepathic neuro nonsense that they always have on Star Trek. You know, her neurotransmitters in the area of the bleebidoo, whatever. And so then Fenna has to well, what ultimately ends up doing is the guy the terraformer who's giving life, rebirthing a star, he decides to sacrifice his own life because she's miserable being married to him, but she mates for life, her species. And so he unalives himself to set her free, and because he feels like rebirthing this star was the ultimate triumph for him and he has nothing left to live for. So yeah. So Fenna gone, Adele lives. It's like C or D tier for me because it's not like a bad episode, but it's just like really unimportant and unnecessary. And yeah, Charlemagne, him falling in love with her is like instantaneous, even though it's like Sisko, maybe this has to do with the anniversary of your wife's death and less about Fenna. But yeah. This episode pisses me off a little, not just because of the really disgusting skin these people have. So these people come from the Gamma Quadrant, and this is the leader. It turns out they are fleeing what ultimately was the Dominion, because we're finding out little by little more and more about the Dominion, who's basically like a really evil empire. And so her group fled. I forgot what they're called. The Skria, right? The Skria? Pretty sure they're called the Skria. This AD ends up being their leader. She befriends Kira, and they have this whole legend of they're gonna find another world based on their mythology / legend / prophecy, and it'll be a world of great suffering that they'll bring back to life. So then she's like, Kira. So Kira's like, I'm gonna help you find a great planet to live on, because there's like millions of them. I'm gonna help you find a great planet to live on. And but then she's like, no, Kira, I figured it out. Bajor is the land. but then we're gonna apply to live on Bajor. But Bajor's like, look, we just got through this genocide. We don't want you on our planet. And she's like, but we're farmers. We could bring your land back to life. We can help you. You don't have to take care of us. And they're like, look, we just feel like this is too much of a burden for us. So they turn them down. And she's furious because Kira doesn't defend her because Kira agrees with them. So she's like, you suck, Kira, even though you've helped me so much. Since you don't agree with me, you're a POS. Then on top of it, her son, who's a little a-hole, ungrateful little a-hole, steals a ship to try to go to Bajor, and it's not something was wrong with the ship. Like, I can't remember if the ship had a problem or if the kid just didn't pilot it right. So it explodes and he dies. And then the lady leaves, and she's a bitch, and it pisses me off. Yeah, they want to help, but they feel like it's too much to take on. I don't think they necessarily made the right choice, but I don't think it's really fair. Right, they are a matriarchy, right. So, I don't know. This episode, I would say it's a pretty good one. I don't know, what do you guys... Charlemagne, Darth, what do you think? C or B? It's hard for me to judge this one because this one just kind of pisses me off. I see, Darth, you said D, so I'm doing C. It just pisses me off the way this woman acts. Do you guys agree with me? Like, I feel like she's really unfair to Kira. Like, Kira was a good friend. She's like, I don't understand why you pretended to be my friend. She was a good friend. Just because she doesn't agree with you, like, just because you have to go settle on a different planet, like, why is that the end of the world, biatch? But yeah, it does add to the Dominion plot. You're absolutely right, Charlemagne. Which is something I like about DS9. They, like, very gradually give you this information, like, just these little hints, which makes it interesting. Ah, who recognizes this guy? Prince Humperdinck. Only thing I've ever seen him in before besides Princess Bride. This episode sucks, though. So, he is an Elorian, like our friend... Well, I'm not gonna call her my friend. Guinan, like Guinan. And it's this whole thing where he uses his Elorian listening / influencing trust scanning powers to manipulate people and scam them. And so he's in trouble, but then he meets this guy in jail who is he's got this device that turns out to be related to luck, and he's like, okay, whatever. And it's like a game, and then he replicates it and he creates this whole casino with the game, but then all this weird stuff starts happening where some people are having really good luck, some people are having really bad luck. And it turns out, I mean, okay, the science behind this one is just ridiculous. It's like, isn't it the thing is like, they're like, oh, these devices are altering the luck on the station because there should be like a random amount of how much the neutrinos are, like which direction the neutrinos are turning. But now they're all turning like one direction here and another direction here, or something along those lines, which is like, okay, guys, come on. We don't need luck science. Come on. And then in the end, he ends up running out of luck. And he needs to be bailed out by Quark. I'm sorry, this is F tier for me, guys. It's just ridiculous. Maybe D. Absolutely Ransoon. It's a filler, and it's very, like, season 1 crap, is what I say. Oh, this is a good one. So this explores more of Odo's background. Dr. Mora, one of the goats of reused actors. Let's see if they have a picture of him. Oh, that's a really tiny picture. He was in TNG multiple times. He is one character in DS9, and he's one... Actually, does he play one or two characters in DS9? At least one, and then... One, but it's recurring. And then he plays a character in Voyager as well, who is a one-off. He comes on board because he's like, Odo, we found evidence of your people on a planet in the Gamma Quadrant. And Odo does not like Dr. Mora. He's got a really complicated relationship with him, and Dr. Mora thinks is resentful of that because he thinks it's unfair. Which there's a better Dr. Mora episode later which explores that more, and I like better. But this just sets it up. Basically, like, they have a contentious relationship because Dr. Mora worked for the Cardassians because he just had to. And he was the one who discovered Odo when he was just a blob and had to figure out that he was sentient and all that. And so Odo feels he wasn't treated well, and he was used as like a circus attraction. And so that's setting up, which we learn a lot more about it later, Dr. Mora's side of the story in another episode. So they go to the planet, and then there's like an earthquake or some shit, and people get hurt. And then, no, it's not an earthquake. It's like some kind of energy. You know how there's always like some kind of energy? And then, there's a monster on board that's like attacking people and destroying stuff, but it turns out it's Odo, and Odo's affected by the energy on the planet, but it makes him turn into a monster because of all his rage against Dr. Mora, and eventually they solve that. It's not great, but it does give us... I think the other Dr. Mora episode is much, much, much better. Gas, right. So I think the other Dr. Mora episode is much better. I'd give this one a C tier just because of the Odo information it gives us, because it is really important to his character. But otherwise it would be lower. Oh yeah, this is a good one. O'Brien and Bashir are on another planet. They two races have been in a long war using biological weapons. O'Brien and Bashir helping destroy the weapons. Yeah, this is a good one. Keiko is the best Starfleet wife. And then once they've figured out how to destroy the weapons, the two group leaders unalive everybody who destroyed them, because they're like, no one who knows anything about how to make these weapons can stay alive. And it's like, whoa, that's a little extreme. And then, but Bashir and O'Brien managed to escape, but O'Brien got some of the liquid from the machine on him, which is giving him the disease. And we learned more about Bashir in this episode, kind of a little bit about like his romantic history, which kind of gives us some interesting insight into him. And so they're fighting to survive. Meanwhile, these groups have told Cisco, oh, sorry, they got unalived. They triggered a defense mechanism and they're dead. And they sent like a video. And Keiko's upset, but then she's like, no, I don't believe it. This is a lie. They're lying because they said it was this time, but I see O'Brien drinking coffee and he would never drink coffee at this time. So she insists, I know he's alive. So they start investigating and they're kind of suspicious, and eventually they figure out, like, yeah, they seem to be alive. So then, right at the last minute, Bashir and O'Brien get caught as they're trying to escape, but they get beamed away, and then there's like a badass thing that Cisco does where they're gonna take them all down. They're like, I don't care, all of you have to be unalived, including Cisco and everyone, because we're covering up anything about these weapons. So they destroy the shuttle that they're all on, but Cisco had beamed the other shuttle that was still in orbit that they'd used to come to the planet. Oh, and they escape. And then there's the funny, so this sets up the beginning of the best and most important friendship in all of Star Trek, which is Bashir and O'Brien. So this is when they kind of start to become friends, like much more so than that other Bajoran episode. And it's the best. Like one of my favorite things about DS9 is their friendship. And then and then there's a funny bit where O'Brien's like, I could go for some coffee at the end. And she's like, well, you never drink coffee at this time. He's like, yes, I do. And she's like, what? And so that's kind of a funny little bit because her whole premise was he would never drink coffee at this time. S tier. I absolutely agree, Charlemagne, because he was just he was just a fuckboy. So it does make him seem a lot more interesting. They start to see his character's just not great in the beginning. So this is when they start to just really round him out more and make him less of like less two-dimensional. They give him some more substance. Oops, did I just skip? No. Oh, Whispers is one of my top 5. This one's so good. So O'Brien had been working in the Parada system. He comes home and everyone's acting really weird. And he's like, this is weird. What's going on? I think there's some kind of conspiracy. Like, I think maybe they've been replaced or taken over by entities. Like, something's off. So eventually they try to capture him. And so he's like, I knew it. Who are you people? What's happening? So he leaves on a shuttle. And of course, O'Brien is able to, like, Kevin McAllister them all. Like, you know, Home Alone. He's like set up all these traps and stuff. And he gets off easily. And then he arrives at the Parada system because he's going to warn them. He's like, guys, there's something wrong. Then when he gets here, there's like a group. They're like, come on, just listen to us. We got something to show you. And he's like, no, you're not going to show me. And then they shoot him. And then these doors open and you see O'Brien are behind the doors. It turns out the O'Brien we've seen the whole time, drinking his coffee Jamaican blend, double sweet, was a clone. They had created a clone to try to sabotage the meeting he had been setting up. And this clone believed himself to be Miles O'Brien. Like, he had no idea he's a clone. So O'Brien comes over to look at him. Is there another photo? No, wait, scroll. No, he comes over to look at him and he's like, he looks just like me. And then the clone's dying words are, Keiko, tell her I love. And then he dies. This is in my top 5 DS9 video on the channel. So this one is like super good because you'd never see it coming. And it is super sad. So I would SG this one. This one is interesting. Cisco and O'Brien crash land basically on a world that has no advanced technology. There's human colonists living there. And this woman is the leader of the group. And she's like, yeah, guess I just got really lucky because I've always believed in living with no advanced technology. And then we crash landed here and got to live my ideal life. Pretty cool. And Cisco's like, I don't know, that's pretty weird. And Cisco and O'Brien obviously want to escape. But she's like, well, why don't you just work for us for a while, helping us harvest and shit, and then you can go. And then she turns out to be like a crazy tyrant. And yeah, I agree with you, Charlemagne. The end pisses me off. Although more and more these days, I find myself thinking like this lady. I think we've gone too far from our roots, and that's why we have so much mental illness and misery. But anyway. And I do agree it has an interesting premise. Like, it's interesting to explore people who are not, like, pro-Federation and technology. It's interesting because, like, it gives more, like, substance to the Federation itself. Because, like, it shows, like, they're not homogenous. There are people like her that, like, have different ideas. And then, yeah, I agree with you, Charlemagne. So eventually, Cisco discovers that this group, the colonists, had actually crash landed on the planet on purpose because of this woman. They didn't know it was on purpose. They all thought it was an accident, but she sabotaged. She picked out this planet ahead of time, sabotaged them to crash land, and then she had put some kind of device that would prevent them from being able to use any of their technology. So she's a psycho. Because, like, her ideas aren't bad, but forcing it on everyone is bad. So then Cisco's like, yeah, we're leaving. You're coming with us because you're going to jail. And she's like, okay, fine. And then, like Charlemagne said, the bummer with this episode is in the end, they're like, well, gee, maybe we'll stay. Maybe we like our community. And it's like, dude. And then at the end, the children, like, after everyone beeves away, the children are staring. And I'm like, yeah, think of the children. How are they going to possibly live a life on this colony? There's not enough of you. Aren't there, like, 20 of them? So it's like, who are your children? Like, maybe one generation can get married, but after that, they're all siblings and first cousins. Like, how's this going to work out, guys? So I would say, ooh, I'm getting mixed messages here from you guys. I will give it, I'm gonna give it C tier, but I'll put it a high C tier. Because I do think it's interesting to explore other people and ideas instead of having everybody likes everything the same in the Federation. But yeah, everyone deciding to stay, and then, because it just irritates me, like you said, Charlemagne, because it's like, how the fuck could they possibly, like, this isn't a sustainable life. You need more people. Which is why she was so excited. This episode's blah. I mean, it's, like, fine, but it, like, Bashir, or, why do I keep saying Bashir? Dax and Odo end up on this planet. Planet at first is like, hey, did you, help me, guys. Did you kidnap our people? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? Turns out, like, regularly their people have been disappearing, including this little girl's mother. This little girl who's from that awful episode of TNG. And so Odo and Dax are helping investigate, but eventually what they discover in the end is this whole colony, except for this old guy, are all holograms. He had a holographic projector. So again, the only good thing about this episode, it gives you more info about the Dominion. Again, another hint, because this guy's planet was basically destroyed by the Dominion. Not like literally destroyed, but you know. So he fled, and then he came here, used his holo projector, and created this colony, and he loves them, and that's great. And then they fix it, but now they all know they're holograms. They don't know he is because he keeps it a secret. It is, I agree, Darth, it does humanize Odo because he, like, becomes friends with the little girl, which is cute, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the S tier. This one's, like, D for me. I just feel like it doesn't add much except for that hint. This one's pretty interesting. It gives, a lot more Dax information, which is nice because she starts out pretty two-dimensional too. They make her like so like aristocratic and like she gets a lot better. They really change her a lot from her series premiere one, the pilot, I mean. So this guy comes, he's in training to become a join Trill, because you have to get training for that for years. He's coming, and Dax is gonna like have him shadow her and kind of assess him. But she had a really bad experience when she was in his position, because Curzon Dax, who we hear a lot about, and so she doesn't want to be like Curzon. Yeah, I agree with you, Charlemagne. So Curzon was really mean to her, and she ended up, did he kick her out of the program, or she dropped out? It was like really awful. But then she reapplied, and she got to get back in the program, and she ended up joined. Only person to ever achieve that. And so she doesn't want to be like Curzon, but she feels like this guy is just living his life for other people, and she's trying to tell him that. I feel like she's a little bitchy. But then, yeah, they end up friends. She kind of helps him out. Woohoo! Yeah, Curzon was I don't know, Curzon was kind of... This episode's pretty meh. Does anybody particularly like this episode? It's like fine. I'll give it C tier just because the additional info about Dax, I guess. And it's not a bad episode. Oh, this is a pretty interesting one. This woman, the sexual stuff with Quark always kind of grosses me out, but whatever. That's offensive. I shouldn't be grossed out. She is now in the Cardassian Underground. She's working with these students who are in the Cardassian Underground. She's a professor. So, because Cardassian Underground is now people who are like, Cardassia needs to stop with the crazy violence and the tyranny and all that, and stop being led by the military, make room for more things. But she used to be on the station, and Quark was in love with her. Now, what I like about this episode is Garrick's involvement, because the Cardassians contact Garrick, and they're like, hey, if you bring us these biatches, then we'll let you come back. And so we find out Garrick has been, deported from Cardassia and banned. He's not allowed to ever come back. And so they're trying to help them, and they're trying to escape, and then ultimately Garrick catches them trying to escape. But then a Cardassian comes, the other Cardassian comes, a bad guy, and he's like gonna kill them. But then Garrick kills them, so it was like, oh shit. So all along, Garrick was actually gonna help them. And Quark's like, why did you help them? And he's like, because I love Cardassia. And he knows that Cardassia needs to change if it's gonna survive and not just self-implode. So that's a pretty good one. And yeah, it does add more depth to Quark. Darth, I agree. I would say this one's A tier. It's pretty solid. Blood Oath. Again, more Jadzia. So this is when we get Kang, Kor, and Koloth, who are from the original series. They come looking for Curzon, and they find out, oh, Curzon's gone. He's the symbiont, the Dax symbiont is no longer in Curzon. He's unalive. It's in Dax now. And so, but they hear, because they have a blood oath, because there was this guy who they call the albino, which I feel like is maybe a little offensive. This guy, oh, I smell fire. Might be a fire nearby. Oh yeah, that doesn't smell good. I have to investigate that. So this guy, the albino, killed one of the K-Man names, sons, who was Curzon Dax's godson, named Curzon. Or no, he was named Dax. And so the Klingons all took a blood oath that they would get revenge. And they've been trying for decades, and now they finally have the opportunity. They have found the albino. And so Jadzia's like, Kor or King is like, look, you're not Curzon. You don't have to come with us. Plus, you're just a woman. And she's like, hey, I still, I'm going to fulfill this blood oath. It's important to me, and I'm a good fighter. And so she goes with them. What's interesting about this one is Jadzia kind of exploring her ethics. Because ultimately, because Jadzia's not Curzon, you know? And so she ends up, you know, having to unalive people to get to the albino, and she's not sure how she feels about that. And in the end, they succeed, yay! But Kang? No, which one? Koloth dies for sure. Koloth and Kang are the ones that unalive. Oh, thanks, out of context. And then, so Kor survives. And, so yeah. I'm gonna have to disagree with S tier. But I will give it A tier because I love Klingons and it explores Jadzia. Wonder what that fire is. It's not fire season yet, right? Sometimes we get fires from up, north. Alright. Oh, this one. Cardassian freighter explodes. It turns out it was the Maquis who had put a bomb. This is a two-parter. I'm just gonna do it at once. Turns out Sisko's buddy is on the colony, and he's like, yo, bro, we gotta do something about these Cardassians. And because this is the whole issue with the Maquis and the land and the demilitarized zone and the treaty. Blah, blah, blah. Turns out Sisko's buddy is actually a Maquis now. And they kidnap Gul Dukat, and then they have to save him. And then ultimately they stop the Maquis from doing their Maquis stuff. But Sisko decides not to unalive his friend because he just can't bear doing it. So he lets him escape. It's fine. Both of these are fine. I don't know. C tier? What do you guys think? Oh, okay. No, you're right, Charlemagne. Okay, it gets B tier for the problem is Earth is my favorite speech. I agree with you, Charlemagne. It's excellent. Because basically, the Federation is putting expectations on these colonies as though they live in paradise like the Federation, and they don't. Things are different. Things are harder. So, yeah. Yeah, it's true, Darth. Especially, what's his name? I always forget his name. Lieutenant Commander... What's his name? Because he's got... That's one of my other speeches that I like. When he joins the Maquis. That is my favorite speech, though. This one is an interesting episode. We learn a lot more about Garrick. Our friend Garrick is suffering these horrible headaches and stuff. Yeah, that's true. It does play up to Dukat and his nonsense. And so Garrick is having these horrible headaches. It turns out he's got this implant in his brain. Guys, help me. The implant in his brain, it turns out he worked for the Obsidian Order, which was like the... It smells like poop now, too. I feel like I'm losing my mind. He worked for the Obsidian Order, which was like the FBI, the CIA, I guess, on Cardassia. So we find out he was a spy. And he just spins a web of lies here, but it turns out he's got this implant put in. Not Lieutenant Dan. The implant put in that was supposed to help him survive torture if he ever got captured. And it, like, I think it, like, gives him dopamine hits or whatever. But he's so miserable living on the station and being exiled from Cardassia that he's just kept it on all the time, and it's given him, like, major brain damage, and so he's dying. And then we do get an interesting thing when Bashir's like, no, I won't let you go. I won't let you unalive. Yeah, Cardassia's Tal Shiar, absolutely. And so he's like, all right, well... then he goes to Anabran Tain, who was, at this time, all we know is he was Garrick's mentor. And he's like, give me the cure. And he's like, well, fine, I will, but only because I want Garrick to continue living a miserable life. So then he cures him. Yeah, fire poop. Somebody ate Taco Bell or Chipotle. So this one I would rank pretty high. I would say A. This gives us some really interesting Garrick information. I gotta eat soon. I'm starting to feel sick. Oh, F tier, F tier. I hate the crossover episodes. I'm not even gonna go into this. This is just, they never did this on TNG. Apparently it's a TOS thing. The mirror universe where everybody's evil and everything's different. I hate it. I skip these episodes every time. I hate them. That's all I have to say about that. And with what? A crossover? So it's just they cross over to the mirror universe where everything's evil. It's basically an alternate dimension where everybody's evil and sexual, and it's stupid. It's crap. Everybody overacts, too. It's awful. So Kira is in a romantic relationship with a monk, which is weird. Bareil. Vedic Bareil. And he's up for potentially... He's most likely going to get elected as the Kai, which is like the Pope of Bajor. And, yeah, I agree with you, Darth. That one's definitely got more substance, but the rest I can't stand how overacting it is and how silly. I can't stand it. And so, but then, Vedig Wynn is, like, pissed. She wants to be the Kai. She needs to get Bareil out of the way, so they get evidence that there was a collaborator with the Cardassians. It's accused of being Bareil, and all the evidence points to him, and Kira's really upset because his collaboration ended up in the death of a group. But it turns out, it ended up in the death of a group that Kai Wynn's son was part of. But it turns out... Yeah, it's true, Charlemagne. Super sexual Kira. And so it turns out that it wasn't actually... So, Vedig Wynn gets elected as Kai Wynn, which sucks, because she's terrible. She's like Umbridge from Harry Potter. But it turns out Vedig Bareil wasn't actually he lied. He wasn't the collaborator. It was actually Kai Wynn. Kai Opaka. Kai Opaka, who they was so beloved on their planet, she was a collaborator, but the reason she did it is that the Cardassians gave her a choice. Either they would destroy like a whole city, or they would destroy just the group that she gave them the information for. So she sacrificed her own son because she knew where her son's resistant group was to save thousands of lives. And then Vedig Bareil took the fall for her. I don't think she asked him to, but he chose to because she made such a terrible sacrifice and he loved her so much because she's like Bajoran Jesus, basically. So it's an interesting episode. And so then Kira and Bareil reconcile. So yeah. What do you guys think? How are you guys thinking this one? It's like fine. It's definitely not one of my favorites. It is interesting that it kind of keeps you guessing until the end. At least the first time you see it. If it's after the first time you see it, something's wrong. Anybody? Anybody? If I don't hear anything, B or A? All right. Okay. I feel like A tier is too high, but it does move us along our projector. What word am I going for, guys? Trajectory of the whole Bajoran government. Scrolly. Tribunal. This one's an important one. This is where Keiko and O'Brien are off on vacation and they abruptly get kidnapped. Well, just O'Brien. He gets kidnapped. He's accused of crime. He gets treated not too bad by Cardassian standards, but somewhat brutally. And they're like, what the heck? Turns out he's accused of working with the Maquis, and he gets put on a trial. But in Cardassian trials, the trial's just a show to entertain the public. Your verdict is already determined, and there's no real... The whole purpose is just to entertain. It's like reality TV for Cardassians. So he's guilty, and they're gonna unalive him. But they're like, there's no way he's guilty. Turns out this guy, who he ran into on the way to his shuttle, his old friend, is actually a Cardassian. His old friend died years ago and was replaced by this guy, a Cardassian who got the surgery to look like him. And he got a voice print of O'Brien saying his name and used it to commit the crime. And they figure that all out. So even after the trial, once they figured it all out, Cardassia knows it's all up. And they're like, well, shit. Okay, well, we'll just say that we're granting him mercy as a sign of, you know, goodwill and all. He'll be rehabilitated. And so, that's that. He gets to go. This guy wins his trial, which is not supposed to happen for Cardassians. I think it's a pretty good one. Anybody else? I think this is A tier. I don't know. I think the Cardassians are, and one thing I think they do really well with DS9 is the other species. The Bajorans are really well done. The Cardassians are well done. The Ferengi, the Klingons, like they just round them out instead of making them so two-dimensional and episodic, you know? I think they do a much better job. All right, now we've got season finale. This one's a good season finale. This one's a badass season finale. So Sisko, Jake, Nog, and Quark go for a camping trip in the Gamma Quadrant, which seems like a really dangerous idea given they have no idea what's out there. Like, what the hell? But they go on a camping trip. Eventually, Sisko and Quark get kidnapped and jailed along with this other woman. There's this woman, Eris. This is introduction of a new species, which is also well done, the Vorta. And they're kidnapped by... Where's the Jem'Hadar? These guys who are really scary soldiers, the Jem'Hadar. They're genetically engineered soldiers that they're basically like Klingons literally on steroids because they take drugs. Yeah, this has a badass... Sorry, I know, and I think I am saying Cardassians half the time out of context. So eventually they escape. They come to get them. A Galaxy-class starship, so like the Enterprise D is Galaxy-class. Another Galaxy-class starship comes to rescue them. Because a Jem'Hadar comes, and he tells them, your people are captured. And then, so they go with the Galaxy-class starship. They're able to save Sisko and Quark, but as a final act, the Jem'Hadar, right here, you can see it. The Jem'Hadar choose to do an unaliving attack, self-unaliving. There, I don't think I'm supposed to say the S word. So they self-unalive attack and ram the Galaxy-class starship and destroy it. And we know that Galaxy-class starships hold over 1,000 people. And they're like, oh my god, why did they do that? Like, we'd already escaped. And they're like, they did it to send a message. Yeah, and everyone's just like speechless. Like, holy shit, they just took out those 1,000 people in the self-unaliving attack. Because they're basically showing this is what the Jem'Hadar will do, this is what it like. Right, it's a matter of control. Yes, that is correct, Darth. I didn't want to go into it too much because I don't think it's introduced till that future episode with the kid. And then Quark figures out this Vorta was in on it the whole time. And she has, let me see if it's in the best lines. She has this really badass, like, final line. She's like, oh, well done, you figured it out. Oh, here we go. She says, they're like, you gotta get off of here. But then she just uses her own little thing to beam off. But right before she says, you have no idea what's begun here. So this is like the GOAT of season finales. Honestly, this one is so good. Solid episode, but also just like as a season finale, you're just like you're so amped for the next season. So my favorite episodes of this season, that's probably one of my favorites. I love Whispers. I love, what was the other one, guys? Cardassians is one I like. There's several solid ones in this one. I definitely prefer it to season 1. Yeah, it's an awesome cliffhanger, Ranstoon. It's like, you're like, oh my god. Imagine back in the day when you had to wait like a year or several months or whatever to see the next one. You're like, oh shit. So this season really gets the characters going a lot more than... Season 1 had some, but they really start to round everybody out. Much more. Get more Garrick, more Dukat. We introduced the Vorta and the Jem'Hadar. So it's solid. It's honestly a really solid season 2. That's the thing about DS9 is it gets solid a lot faster than other series, in my opinion. Like, most of these were pretty decent, except for, personally, I hate Cardassia, and I hate Crossover, and I hate Rivals. But even you guys didn't think those were that bad, so solid season. Alright, friends, time for me to eat. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Gotcha is Suffering that came out on Friday. Monday will be the new episode 4 of the Royal Hour. the gotcha episode with the Yan song. Monday night stream, 8 p.m. PST. Thanks to our friends Gamma Spectre, Out of Context, Sleepy, and Charlemagne. Is that everybody? Did I get you all? They had us meet our goal, so we will be doing a Yan-voiced stream on Monday. And yes, Charlemagne, I think they probably were. They probably were from day one. There's a new Yan avatar to vote on the Discord and the members only channel, and on the members post on YouTube. All right, thank you all. I'll say goodnight even though it's not really night here yet, but Kakram Jupu. Night, everybody.